Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is for the science of fantasy football. It is ADP versus end of the season PPR, points by position, wide receivers, part 5 here. And we will continue that journey. Here's some data I have. And the concept was looking over the last 9 years. I divided the samples into the top 30% over 9 years, the mid 40 percentile, and the bottom 30%. So kind of top, mid, and bottom. And then I figured out the percentages of the T's, the M's, and the L's, or the bottoms, I guess, T, M, B, I guess it is. And so that data is shown here. I divided the ADP sectors into half, into sixth. And again, the top, middle, and bottom are end of the season. So before season and end of season. And I compared RBs and WRs. That is the critical distinction there. So in the top 6, how you can interpret this, top 6, over 9 years, 77% of RBs in those have been in the tops at the end of the season, and 79. Bottom 16, 11. The mid 16, 11, and bottom 6 and 11. So not a lot of failures. I mean, one way is just to concentrate on where is the failing. And believe it or not, WRs have failed 11% versus RBs at 6. So double the failure rate. It's pretty low. So for the most part, whatever you're grabbing in the top 6 is pretty good. And notice WRs. If a wide receiver is in the top 6, they have been outstanding. The 7 to 12, it's 72-70. A little bit rougher on the wide receivers. If you look at the mid, we're talking 19-25. And the failure, though, is higher in RBs, 9 versus 5. So you just need to know that in your first pick, there is a failure rate. Okay? Just the way it is. It's low. It's probably not a lot you can do, but there it is. The second round, 13 to 18. We did see a dip historically in 9 years. The top. RBs is 58, 70, WRs 37. A lot more mids here at this round. So people are over buying RBs and WRs here. Failure rates are low though, so that's nice. The second half of round 2, RBs jump back. And WRs kind of jump back to 55, but RBs are dominating in the second round as far as being in the top. This, one could suggest this says get your your WR round 1, your RB round 2 kind of thing. People have thought about that. I've suggested that before, and this data backs it up. Third round, 25 to 30 and 31 to 36, it is all about the WRs. It almost seems like it's WR, RB, WR. Fourth round, there's some movement to WRs. 37 to 42, it's a little bit skewed in favor of the RBs here. Failure rates, you're starting to hit that 12%, and look at RBs, 25%. coming into the end of round 4. So that's sad. That worries me. You start to see some failures here in RBs here. And so you can plot down here and you see that the tops start eroding and disappearing by round 4, and you pick up a lot of the mids, and then about RBs, you're starting to be in the 20s to 30% failures, and you really start hitting 40% failures at 115 to 120. So you can almost chart any kind of blowing up here and where that's going to happen. So to me, this is just a call for you to really get serious about your deeper RBs. You have a better chance in some ways of getting a mid-round RB in some of these, or a mid-round WR. So it kind of bounces back and forth. I plotted this whole path here. RB, WR, ADP's 1 to 157, and just look at the tops here. So if you look at the tops, and this, don't worry about this curve here. It's probably too much here. I don't know if I can go back to my polynomial here. I don't know why it likes to, I mean, in some ways, not satisfied with the linearness, because look at the data you're missing. So I don't think, so to me, the best is you just ignore the run up here, and I think it'll be fine. So ignore the run up, and just, this is telling you things are, and you can see the purple is WR, RB right there. So they're really on top round first 1 to 6, 7 to 12. It's a little flip, but nothing big. The biggest drop is the early second round. You see RBs drop, but WRs drop as well in tops. Then they're back. WRs are back. RBs are back, and then WRs. And then notice WRs really dominate in this stretch of the draft here. So this is, you're doing a lot better. And this is, I guess, the RB dead zone concept that's going on here in this part of the draft. RBs do wake up in this part and then decline. And WR's pretty steady to about 133 here, and then they drop. So it's kind of a roller coaster of looking at the tops here. This is another way to look at it. It's moving average. It might be a little better. So I plotted it by moving average. This is the RB, and WRs really take over here. Right here, it's picking this up here, this data, and this big gap between these. Mids, RBs are peaking and then staying about the same and then dropping at the end. WRs really drop as far as any mids, because you're getting a lot of highs here. You're getting a lot of highs at that point. And then the bottoms, it's a constant movement up, and you can see that WRs start getting a failure weight, but RBs take over here, and they both start skyrocketing at about and I do the, you know, to the 72nd in yellow to the 120, and then you really start skyrocketing here in the bottoms. So the kind of, and this is moving average, trying to distinguish the RBs in green and the WRs in purple here. And there is an overtake right here in this part of the draft. So when I'm thinking about this data, this is highlighting where I need to dig deeper. I think you've got a nice shot at finding WRs that are surprising. And I shouldn't look at the bottoms here, but the RBs, I'm sorry, right here, WRs in here, RBs. And if you look at the top, even, I mean, this may be a better way to see it, but it almost encourages you to grab a WRs here, then some RBs, and then WRs, and then they both about the same. So use this to kind of plot your strategy here. And let's see, what is this? Another way. So I make it even a little bit clearer. I did a ratio, the differences here in the tops, mids, and bottom. Anything above one significantly, like about a 1-2 or so, will be favored to the RBs. Anything below like 0.8 is going to favor the WRs. And the top 6, about the same for the tops in WRs, RBs. There is a favoring of wide receivers and RBs here in the mid, and wide receivers failing here. So you can plot, there's a interesting failure rate in the RBs right here compared to the WRs. So you can hit these hot spots here to see where you might pick it up. But look right here, round 2, 1-6, basically 1-5, 1-6. That's all skewed towards grabbing RBs here. You can you could read this way. You could read it, RB is fine, RB is fine round 1, round 2. Some people do that and they get away with it. But if you, looks like in 3rd round you need to be going WRs, and probably 4th round WRs. 5th round, starting to get, it's telling you 2 different things here. That you're getting this uptick of RBs in this range. So again, plotting your strategy, and let's see, how did I do this? So I plotted the tops, and like I said, anything above 1 is probably about, and I probably should have marked this. So looks like you've got RBs and then a drop. Pick your RBs up again and a drop. So if you look at the tops there, and looking at the mid round, you're starting to see a decline in here. And bottoms are really pretty steady, a little bit higher. So the uncertainty is right here, drops a little bit, and right there. I would use the tops to try to figure that out. And I wanted to look at the numbers of wide receivers drafted over the years, just to see what's the difference. WRs in the last 9 years, 39 have been grabbed in round 1, 49, 47, 51 in rounds 2, 3, 4. This data would say round 2, you should strive to get RBs here. And you can see that WRs have dropped in the last little bit here. If you look here, 2020, 21, 22, 23, they've dropped here. They've kind of picked up here. And about the same there. So let's see, did I do RBs? So traditionally, 66 RBs have been taken round 1, 39. So almost double the number. This data would say this should be higher. And last year it was almost equal. 6 and 5. And you're saying, well, that's 11. Kelsey was taken as the tight end. Second round last year, it was there's quarterbacks being drafted, tight ends, RBs were 3 and 5 here. So you can plot. There were round 7, there were 8 WRs taken, and you can see round 7 there's only 2 RBs taken. So you can kind of plot and make some predictions about what people are doing, but it looks like everybody's stuck on getting that stud RB, which is fine, but the data actually would suggest probably a WR. Depends. Either way, but I think you might get, especially if you got draft, if you could get in the top 6 drafts for WRs, those are really gold compared to RBs. And then in round 2, take an RB. So that's kind of what this data is suggesting here. Looking at the drafts by years, there's haven't been a lot. I will say that there tends to be WRs have been drafted a lot since 2020. If you look at the upper box here versus in recent years. So there's been a shift from 19 to 20. So we're in this era that there's actually more RBs being taken than usual here. Here's WRs. We've kind of declined a little bit in the last 3 years drafted, if you look at it there. And so I plotted the average PPR and the numbers. And so if you can get those and convert that, you can get a ratio. And it shows, and I call it efficiency. Okay, what that means. But in round 1, WRs have been really pretty good and efficient. Anything green means it's in the top 30th percent in the last 9 years. So last year was nice for WRs. In fact, that's one of the best years we've seen since 2020. There's been a few failures, but not in a while. First 3 rounds, there's only been 4 failures. And notice in the old days, 15 to 18, or actually 15 to 17, there were not a lot of WR successes as far as efficiencies. But we're seeing a lot more of that in recent times here. And if we look at RBs and look at efficiencies, 16 and 15 show you this idea of this 0 RB, and even 20 and 21 had some 0 RB, but boy, not as bad as look at 4th round, 5th round, 7th round. Very sad as far as efficiencies. So I think these years really push the zero RB mantra. Last year, you can see we're not seeing that. And in fact, first two rounds, just about anything you drafted was pretty good. But notice the RB efficiency. Round two was sweet compared to WRs. You were getting the same efficiency here. So the advantage was WRRB. That was how last year played out. And then pick up some more WRs here. Okay, so you can kind of plot that. Another way to look at it is numbers drafted. Count the tops, efficiency, and bottom, mid, and bottoms. See draft round one, WRs. Okay, draft efficiency, not good. Second round, here's, if you look at 9, here's 6. So it's tending to go RBs. Third round, if you look at, say, 8 and 6, WRs, 6, 7, about the same. Not any tops here, a few tops there. So you can plot it that way. Top layers, WRs, and then it crashes. Look at round 2, they're about the same. So again, WRRBs, I think, can be featured here. But RBs have been superior versus WRs as far as efficiency after about the third round. Look at fourth round. Okay. Seventh round, ninth round, all pointing to higher RB efficiencies. Well, you can look at it here. In 2023, this was, the number says RB round 1. WR really, look at round 5. And then here's the RBs were crashing here. So if you look at the 50%, round 1 was about the same. Round 2 says RB, folks. Okay, round 3, we're back to WR. Round 4, about the same. Round 5, WR. Round 6, about the same. Round 7, back to running backs. Really low here. And a little bit higher here, round 8. Looks like round 9, clearly RBs. So, second round, 7th round, 9th round. You're saying, well, how do we know this is going to happen again? We don't. But I think when you look across, I think you can get some trends. Okay? I'm not necessarily going to, stuck with what happened last year, not even close. But it does give me some things to think about. So we're talking draft planning. I understand people, well, I'll wait and see what the draft gives me. Is that because you don't want to do the work, prep time? I would rather prep, get ready, understand historical trends, understand efficiency, understand expectations about what we're expecting to happen along the way, and then see what happens. I mean, yeah, if you're in a weird draft and people are drafting 12 RBs in a row, that tells you something, okay? It's a weird situation. You walk away from that. So I urge you to plan, use this data to plan your tactics here. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about ADP's WRs. I'm starting with tight ends next in the next lesson. So thanks for listening, and come back to the process and science fantasy football. Woo woo.